For the first time, President Biden will face a challenger whose name will be printed on the same ballot as they face off in this weekend's South Carolina Democratic primary. He is Minnesota Congressman Dean Phillips, who's challenging Biden for the Democratic Party nomination. And he joins us now live. Congressman, thank you very much for joining us off the campaign trail. Let me hit you right off the bat here. You have voted with the president and the Democratic Party as a member of the House the vast majority of the time. So why are you running against him?
Well, Mike, thanks for having me, first of all. And I'm running against him because the country is very clear right now. It's time to turn the page. People recognize that we have two leaders of the past. And look, I think Joe Biden's a good man and has done a nice job. I think Donald Trump is a dangerous man. That's the truth. But I'll tell you, it is time for a uniter-in-chief. Our country is being pulled apart at the seams. You just had a segment about Texas and secession. We have chaos and dysfunction in the House. We need leadership, a new generation. I think it's time for change. I'm hearing that all around the country. I love my Republican brothers and sisters and my Democratic brothers and sisters, Mike. And you know what? Competition is required in democracy. We cannot have coronations. And that's why I'm in this race. I think it's time for a new generation, and we got to do better. And that's what I'm trying to bring.
Okay, I think your critics would say you're talking about turning the page, but you're not talking about turning the page to the next chapter. They would say that you are weakening the current president and you risk turning the page back to 2017 to 2021 and a Trump presidency. How would you respond to that?
Yeah. Well, I would respond with the facts, which is just the opposite. The Democratic National Committee right now seems to want a reprise of 2016. We know this is the weakest incumbent president in modern history. Just today, CNN published January approval numbers from every president going back to Truman. The lowest in history right now is Joe Biden. He's losing in the battleground states. And I'm telling you, I'm not going to sit down and be quiet when I see a train wreck happening. The only reason I'm in this business, Mike, is in 2016, the morning after that terrible election, my daughters were sitting at the breakfast table with me. I saw fear in their eyes. I promised them I would do something. I'm not going to be quiet no matter what my party says right now because they are sleepwalking into disaster. And that's why. And by the way, yes, I voted a lot with my party, but I'm also the second most bipartisan member of the entire Congress. And I've got some bold plans to reduce costs and end the chaos at our southern border, in our cities, and around the world. It's time for peacemaking, not war making. It's time for a new generation to tackle incoming problems. And I'm just afraid that men in their 80s are not ready to deal with.
So it's an age issue, but beside the age issue, what would you do different than the current Democratic president, the leader of your party?
Let me start with my boldest proposition, something called American Dream Accounts. The federal government would endow a $5,000 investment account for every baby born in America, 3.5 million a year or so. It would grow over time. We would embed financial management and entrepreneurship in high schools and elementary schools. Kids would have an app on their phone to track their investments. It would compound at about 10% a year. The S&P has done that for 30 years. And as an incentive to graduate high school and stay on a good path, that money would become yours. Young people would start their lives with $20,000 to $25,000. Everybody could become an owner of this economy, a down payment in a house, you know, that kind of thing. And it complements Social Security, which is for the end of your career. We need to invest in kids, pre-K education, healthcare, housing, and no debt education because we're burdening young people in this country that cannot get out from the weight of crushing debt. And that's not the American dream that I knew and that you knew.
Okay, I covered the Clinton administration. That's very Clinton-esque in a way, kind of small bore policy proposal. Let me ask you about a bigger issue. What would you do about the border?
Well, I've been there. First of all, Mike, it is an unmitigated, embarrassing, horrifying disaster. It's a human crisis. It is a national security crisis, and now becoming a constitutional crisis. It is a failure of multiple administrations. What would I do?
Would you crack down on
here's
asylum
what I would do.
seekers?
First of all, Mike, here's what I would do. I would change our asylum policy. Right now, we are providing the very incentive for migrants to cross the border that we have to change. We should be forcing asylum cases to be filed in your country of origin, your home country, at one of our consulates or one of our embassies. We would adjudicate the case there and then bring you to America if you qualify. But we are incentivizing people to make that arduous journey, spend their life savings of $10,000 or so per person with Mexican cartels, dumping them in the streets of El Paso, no way to work, don't know the language, and no money in their pockets, and then being shipped to cities around this country. It's a disaster. It's frankly bad leadership. Bad leadership. And that's what we got to change.
Thank you for watching, and make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.